Did the White House just say stimulus? Whoa. This is big, you guys. President Biden's officials just made the rounds of Sunday news shows, and they're basically talking about how they're going to be making stimulus happen and lower the deficit. Yes, that and a whole lot more in today's stimulus package update and daily news report. President Biden falling off his bike last weekend. White House economic advisor Brian Deese talking about all the stimulus that they have in the works right now. Him and other officials saying their piece on an inevitable recession. And finally, what they call their single most impactful avenue on inflation. All the news that you guys actually care about right here on the channel, from stimulus to inflation to stock market updates, housing market updates, cryptocurrency ideas. We've got you covered right here on the channel. All you got to do is subscribe and also make sure you got that notification bell turned on. And of course, I just want to thank you guys so much for always hitting the like button on the videos. Totally appreciate that. Now let's get started. Biden is fine after falling off of his bike in Delaware, at least according to White House officials. But what happened to President Biden? Well, the White House shared the good news that Biden is okay after falling off of his bike on Saturday after a ride in a state park near his home in Ringbooth Beach. We got a clip of what happened though. Here, check it out.
President Biden at his weekend getaway of Delaware, taking a bit of a tumble while riding his bike in the state park. It happened just a short time ago.
Mr. President, made up Dr. Biden's president. It's coming.
Oh my gosh, that could have been terrible. But thankfully, as you see, he gets up and he's wearing a helmet. The crowd, of course, clapped when the 79-year-old president got back onto his feet and then appeared in pretty good spirits there, shaking it all off as he talked with people who witnessed that moment. We're glad he's all right.
So, according to White House officials, as the president said, his foot got caught on the pedal while dismounting and he's fine. No medical attention is needed. President looks forward to spending the rest of the day with his family. So, President Biden's fall happened when he was finishing a bike ride alongside First Lady Jill Biden. As you saw from the video, he deviated from the group as he biked over to a crowd that had gathered nearby. President Biden came to a stop and appeared to get his foot caught in the pedal while trying to get off the bike. He told reporters who were traveling with him, quote, "I got my foot caught in the toe cage. I'm good." Now, it may not have been seen in the clip, but U.S. Secret Service agents quickly helped the president up after his fall, and then the crowd clapped for Biden. It's good that he is okay, especially since he's turning 80 years old in November, so a fall like that could have hurt a lot more. To be honest with you, I'm really impressed with his health, and to be almost 80 years old and going for long distance bike rides, that's impressive. Anyway, speaking of hurting, while President Biden was biking over the weekend, White House officials were making the rounds of TV news shows. And good thing I was paying attention because they just dropped some major stimulus hints here. So let's see if you can pick up on the same things that I did. Here, take a look.
And joining us here in Washington, Brian Deese, director of the National Economic Council. Brian, welcome back to Fox News Sunday. Good to have you.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so let's look at some of the polling and seeing how Americans are feeling about the economy this morning. Fox News asked, do you feel optimistic or pessimistic? 32% optimistic, 65% pessimistic. And that has been, tracking the numbers, unfortunately moving in the wrong direction. The condition of the economy, 82% of people say it's only fair or poor. And then we ask people a personal question. How is this impacting you and buying things like gas prices? 90% say it's a problem for them. 88% say grocery prices. Utility costs, 81%. The president this week asked Americans to have confidence in the economy. They clearly don't, though.
Well, look, we get it. When you drive up to the pump and you see the prices that we have today, it creates uncertainty and it creates real economic hardship. But at the same time, it is important as Americans that we recognize the unique strengths that we have in this economy. The strongest labor market since World War II, unemployment at 3.6%, household balance sheets that have repaired over the course of the last year. So we now have the lowest mortgage delinquencies in 15 years, the lowest credit card delinquencies in 30 years. Those are sources of strength that are unique to the American economy. We have a stronger and better position to tackle inflation than almost any other country around the world. But that's what we need to do now. And the president has made very clear that fighting inflation, bringing down prices is his top economic priority. He's using the tools that he has, and he's calling on Congress to pass legislation that would help to accelerate this process of bringing down prices without giving up all of the economic gains that we've made.
So Bloomberg reporting on this advanced negotiations that you have going on with folks on Capitol Hill, Democrats. This name that always comes up as a fly in the ointment for you guys, which is Senator Joe Manchin. He's actually getting praise from people across the political spectrum for blocking Build Back Better, as even the Fed has said that contributed to inflation potentially to the tune of 3 percentage points. How is this going to factor in for you now with Manchin and these new negotiations? What can you get done?
Well, I'm going to leave the negotiations where they are, not talk about them here. But what I'll say substantively is what are we talking about right now? We're talking about some concrete measures to lower costs that typical families are facing. Take Medicare prescription drugs. We can lower those costs by allowing Medicare to negotiate for better prices. That actually reduces federal spending and reduces costs paid by consumers. Lowering energy bills, utility bills with common sense tax credits, and reducing the deficit. Reducing the deficit with long overdue tax reform. Economists across the spectrum agree that if we take those steps, it'll be complementary to what the Fed is trying to do. Not only help to lower prices, but also send a signal to the market and the world that the United States is focused on this issue and is committed to bringing prices down, again, without giving up all of the extraordinary economic gains that we've made.
So what's a timeline for getting those things to a vote? We have an August recess coming. We have midterms coming that could potentially change the makeup of what you all control on Capitol Hill and can get done.
Well, those conversations are happening. I'm going to leave them to the leadership. What I would say is we're hopeful, and we really want to see something move here in the short term. Because, again, this is not just about enacting legislation. It's about giving some relief to families right now and sending a signal that not just the president and the Federal Reserve, but Congress recognize that fighting inflation needs to be our top priority.
Okay, before I get too excited, did you guys hear that part about the things that they're considering right now? Yeah, I hope you did, because that was some major stimulus that he just casually dropped in there. I took notes, so let's count them one by one. So, number one, lower prescription drug costs by allowing Medicare to negotiate for better prices. Now, what they may be going for here is something along the lines of the insulin bill that passed the House. It would pay insulin copays at $35 a month. Yeah, imagine doing something like that for all of your maintenance medication. Wouldn't that be great? Or maybe they could take it a step further and follow the lead of billionaire Mark Cuban's online pharmacy. Instead of doubling, tripling, even quadrupling the prices of medication, Cuban's pharmacy standardized the whole thing at a 15% price markup plus labor and shipping. Now, if Congress and the White House did something similar to this, I'd certainly be impressed. I mean, it's been a long time coming. According to the Mayo Clinic, retirees in the US, they pay 10 times more for insulin than their counterparts in other rich countries. So, some long overdue stimulus right here, right? Deese also mentioned a possible stimulus number two, lowering energy bills and utility bills with some common sense tax credits. His words, not mine. Something like this could definitely help out. And as Deese said, not only would the stimulus help to lower prices, but it would also send a signal to the markets and to the world that the United States is focused on the issue and is committed to bringing prices down. He was asked about a timeline since the Democrats are in danger of potentially losing their Congress majorities in the midterm elections. Deese did not give an exact timeline here, but he did say that they're aiming for something in the short term. Well, it can't get any shorter than right now, right? Another topic that they picked up that wasn't in the clip I showed is the probability of a recession. And according to Deese and other Biden officials, a recession is not inevitable, unlike what some economists and investors have been warning about. To them, Deese said, quote, "Not only is the recession not inevitable, but I think that a lot of people are underestimating those strengths and the resilience of the American economy. We have been through Delta and Omicron. We've had a war in Europe and all of the impacts that has had, and through it, the American economy has remained resilient. What we want to focus on now is taking every step to continue that progress." Now, with him on this are Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Now, they both pretty much said the same thing in their own interviews over the weekend. Yellen went on ABC and said, "I expect the economy to slow. It's been growing at a rapid rate as the labor market has recovered and we reach full employment. It's natural now that we expect a transition to steady and stable growth. I don't think recession is at all inevitable," end quote. Now, she also mentioned President Biden and Fed Chair Jerome Powell, quote, "Clearly, inflation is unacceptably high. It's President Biden's top priority to bring it down, and Chair Jerome Powell has said that his goal is to bring down inflation while maintaining a strong labor market. That's going to take skill and luck, but I believe it's possible." Now, of course, this is the same person that just said that inflation was going to be transitory last year. You guys remember that, right? So look where we are right now. Nothing transitory about the 8.6% inflation rate that we're seeing. That's why the Fed is taking some very aggressive steps to curb it. And we just saw their biggest interest rate hike in nearly 3 decades. Now, on the other side of the debate, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers said that all of the precedents point toward a recession. So is a recession coming or not coming? We may not know for sure until it's actually here. It certainly feels like it might be here already. Now, what I do know for sure is that the biggest thing that could help out is some good old-fashioned stimulus. Deese also said so himself. Some new stimulus legislation that the White House single most impactful avenue on inflation. In a separate interview, he stressed that they're focused on passing laws cause to lower prescription drug prices and other costs in the coming weeks. So yeah, hope you guys caught that, you guys. In the coming weeks. Definitely tune in for my future updates covering this. Have you subscribed to the channel yet? I definitely recommend that you do, plus hitting that sweet little notification bell. All right, now as I was saying though, Deese really brought it home, the point that if there was something that could help here, it would be some solid stimulus. Quote, our focus is on what are the steps, what are the policies that we can take. And the single most impactful thing that we can do right now is to work with Congress, pass legislation that would lower the cost of things that families are facing right now, end quote. And this isn't just something that they're saying here. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Joe Manchin have been meeting in recent weeks to negotiate over potential legislation to bring down prescription drug costs. Now, they're also talking about a slimmed down Build Back Better bill. Just last week, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that negotiations over a slimmed down social spending package, which would also potentially include climate provisions, are alive after meeting with Biden and Schumer. Don't sleep on these climate provisions, you guys. No less than President Biden hinted that it could lead to some major stimulus for us. He said he basically has the votes to reduce prescription drug costs and provide tax incentives for winterizing homes, which by the way would help lower utility bills amid rising energy costs. He said, I believe that I have the votes to do a number of things. One, prescription drugs. Reduce utility bills by providing for, I think we'll be able to get the ability to have a tax incentive for winterization. Now, when Deese was asked about this, he said this, we're working very closely with congressional leadership and with the Senate leadership on that. Senator Chuck Schumer is working with his caucus to try and get a final package in place, and we're hopeful that we'll see progress on that in the coming weeks. Now, Deese also said that they're hopeful that Congress can actually move a separate package to accelerate the U.S. manufacturing of semiconductor chips and other critical supplies before the August recess. Now, according to him, quote, that would provide some real relief for the economy, end quote. And a big part of how they're going to make all this happen is by taxing the rich. At least that's their hope. Now, as Deese said, quote, lowering prescription drug prices is one piece. Lowering utility costs by providing tax incentives for energy is another piece. But equally important, lowering the federal deficit by enacting long overdue tax reform. So yeah, tax reform is basically a code for taxing the rich, since we know that President Biden has pushed for a 15% minimum tax and to end the Trump 2017 tax cuts on businesses and on high earners. Now, Deese said that he was hopeful to see progress on a bill in the coming weeks. Usual Senate holdout Joe Manchin actually gave us a little bit of hope on this one. He said that the drug pricing is something we all agree on. If we do nothing more this year, that's the one thing that must be done. Now, there's also President Biden's Saudi trip to look forward to. Deese also gave the insider scoop here. He said this, what's behind this is a very simple proposition, which is when it is U.S. interest in the president to engage with a foreign leader, he will do so, end quote. He said in response to comments that Biden might look desperate traveling to Saudi Arabia since he previously condemned them for their human rights record, including the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Critics said that it's basically looking like Biden's given the Saudi royal family his stamp of approval by visiting there. Not exactly a good look, but Deese counteracted by saying this, we have significant interests, national security interests in the region, as well as the economic interests as well. He will vigorously represent American interests while also vigorously representing American values, end quote. Deese also talked about motivating oil companies to boost supply. Quote, in the near term, the companies have a very powerful market incentive. Prices are high and their profit and profit margins are high. And what we are encouraging is that they take those and put those profits to work to increase production, end quote. Then he said, quote, if there are practical things we can do, we're willing to listen and willing to be open, end quote. So it looks like they're waiting for just the right stimulus proposal here. The Saudi trip is coming up in July, so really it's just a couple more days from now. We'll get more details on this and other stimulus leads in the coming days, but I just thought I'd like to highlight that, he does say that they're encouraging these oil companies to take those profits and increase production. So the wording here tells me that the president doesn't have any control over these oil companies and how much they're making and how much this is causing us to be paying at the gas pump. So I'm not all that optimistic personally, but this is what they're saying at this time. Prepare now. Stimulus checks and tax refunds cannot come soon enough. Diesel and gas prices are soaring. With bans on food exports, droughts, and global inflation, empty shelves have been replaced by higher and higher food prices every time on our grocery store shelves. The price of milk, meats, eggs, and cooking oils. They're all hitting record highs. It seems like the middle class just can't catch a break. Have you ever dropped your phone and cracked the screen and wished you had insurance on it? Yeah, sucks, doesn't it? And you certainly wouldn't wreck your car and then go look for insurance, would you? I don't think so. Heating and air conditioning systems fail unexpectedly and cost thousands of dollars to repair. How about that upstairs toilet leaking downstairs? How about the water heater or a surprise leaky roof? Yep, could cost thousands. But don't let Murphy's Law catch you by surprise. Get your free home warranty quote and never have to worry about expensive home repairs again. Link in the description down below. That's right, you guys. Get your free home warranty quote, link in the description today. So lots more stimulus to look forward to in my future videos. Hope you guys caught all the stimulus good news in today's stimulus package update and daily news report. President Biden falling off his bike last weekend. We covered White House economic advisor Brian Deese talking about all the stimulus that they've got in the works. Him and other officials saying their own piece on an inevitable recession. And finally, what they call their single most impactful avenue on inflation. In other words, some good old-fashioned stimulus. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Big thanks for always hitting that like button. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Take care.